Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the Road to Resilience with your coach, your counselor, and your mentor, Theresa Marie. Now, these shows will be very educational, entertaining, and enlightening for those of you who want to up-level in any area of your life, whether it be in your relationships, your career, your finances, your health. We're going to be covering all of those as we go on. Each episode, I'll have specific guests on my show who have specific areas of interest or expertise. I'll be doing some solo shows where I'll just be sharing with you some things that I've learned on the way. And hopefully you'll learn a little bit, you'll get uplifted, and you'll be introduced to people who may be doing the same thing that you want to do, or you are doing, or you have done, and how to learn and to grow and invest and be the best you that you can be. Today I want to talk about the power of forgiveness. Here on the Road to Resilience podcast, we talk about many different topics pertaining to the ability to be resilient, to develop resilience, and to overcome challenges. Today, I want to talk about forgiveness. One of the most difficult conversations I've had to have, not only with myself over the years, but many of those that I've counseled, coached, or mentored. And it's the conversation that revolves around forgiveness. Resilience and forgiveness go hand in hand. Many of us want our lives to be different. In order to get past some of our painful pasts, if we want to heal from the hurt, we must first learn to process the pain, the anger, the bitterness, and ultimately find a way to forgive. The kind of forgiveness that'll bring an inner peace, knowing that everything will be all right. We can move into our greater good as a collective conscious when we practice to forgive. You can find that forgiveness. It's that process by which you don't necessarily let someone off the hook, but you take back your power. In other words, you no longer allow that person to rent space in your mind. Eventually, if we want to move on and become our best self, we have to find the ability to forgive. Not only ourselves, but those who have hurt us, betrayed us, and all the other things that I'm sure we can all readily repeat from our mental list of past hurts, rejections, betrayals, bad breaks. There's a saying that I once heard that unforgiveness, it's kind of like drinking poison and hoping that the other person will die. You see, it's only hurting you. It's all part of that fear syndrome. We want to move from that fear to forgiveness. And eventually, we want to try to make forgiveness a permanent state for ourselves. Our mental health and wellness is dependent upon the ability to not only be resilient, but to find the ability to forgive. Now, our planet is in a transition stage. I believe that we, as a collective agency, must transition too. Now, I understand much more than you think about drama, trauma, terrible acts of violence, terrible betrayal. But you know that sometimes we have to understand that hurt people often hurt people. And many times acts of violence often come from a person who was traumatized. And often we can find a way to forgive. Now, I'm not condoning any form of violence or hurting another human being or any living thing for that matter. I respect the sanctity of life. But if you are a leader or a person of influence, you got to understand that if you want to continue to change lives or change the world, if you want people to become their best self, to become loving and peaceful, you have to teach them and guide them. You must show them how to do this, how to come at it from a loving space in their heart. You're not going to be able to teach them that if you don't know how to do it yourself. And I believe the answer to world peace and harmony and all sorts of wonderful things stem from a heart of forgiveness. I want to help as many people as possible learn to forgive themselves and others. That's my work in this world. It's to help people love themselves enough to forgive themselves and forgive those that have hurt them and find that road to resilience through love and peace and inner strength from the pathway of forgiveness. Now, I know that there are many horrible things that happen to people, and I'm not at all saying we should forgive and forget, but I've worked with thousands of people for almost 20 years, and I find that being unable to forgive will hinder your success. It can bring all kinds of sicknesses to our body, and it can potentially stop us from becoming all we were born to be. Because I believe that we all have a purpose. We all have the power within to forgive. We have the capacity to forgive. We have many opportunities to open our hearts on a much deeper level and learn to forgive. The same way we learn to be resilient, we must exercise that muscle of resilience in order to strengthen it. And in the same way, we must strengthen that muscle of forgiveness. Forgiveness really is the answer. I believe that forgiveness is powerful. It helps us. It helps other people. Let me ask you, what are you doing to create your own inner harmony, to make yourself feel good inside? Or do you just sit and complain about all those who have hurt you or betrayed you? Do you complain about what you don't have? Now, it is true that there are some ways of handling your life that could include complaining. It could include being angry, bitter. It could include using and abusing substances. It could even include you acting out, lashing out. But it's not going to change the situation. You're not going to heal. You're not going to overcome by being mad at yourself or being mad at others. You're not going to be able to do it by blaming people. You can't live your life being a victim. If you constantly stay in that victim mentality, you won't heal. So what is it that you need to do to rid yourself of those toxic behaviors and beliefs centered around unforgiveness? How do you express unconditional love in your life? How do you express self-love? How do you express self-forgiveness? Is there a small area in your life where you're willing to give forgiveness? Where you're willing to offer unconditional love? How are you experiencing the peace within you that comes from extending forgiveness? And if you're not doing that now, are you willing? Now, I'm not saying that when we forgive, we forget the pain or the hurt, but we don't let it eat away at us. We don't allow it to make us become sick or bitter. Can you find grace for yourself, for your past mistakes? Can you extend forgiveness to yourself? Start by creating that inner harmony and that inner peace by learning to forgive yourself for the way things didn't turn out or the way things did turn out, or maybe how you treated others, or a situation in your life where you need to be offered forgiveness. Is it easy? No, but it's so worth it. If you're willing to change, if you're willing to do the work involved, you can. It means changing the way you think, and you can change your life for the better through a simple process of learning to forgive. Now, many people come up to me and they'll say, Theresa, you don't understand what I've been through. How can I forgive thus and so, and this and that? And I say, yes, that is hard, but it's so important. It's doable. Now, I may not know everything you've been through. For those of you who are listening, I may not understand the level of pain inflicted upon you. I can only offer you a remedy for change and healing. I can only offer you the strategy for mental health and wellness care, for being your best self. I can't change anybody. I don't have that kind of power. Only you can change yourself. It was only me who could change myself. It was only me that had to look deep inside and forgive myself for the areas that I let people down, that I let myself down, that I blew opportunities to become my better self. I had to forgive others who maybe willingly inflicted pain upon me, or perhaps unwillingly or unknowingly. Whatever the case may be, it was up to me. Only I have the ability to clean up the pain within me. Only you have the ability to clean up that pain within you. I can't do it for you. I could stay here all day and tell you all of the wonderful things and give you lots of good information. But ultimately, you're going to have to make the decision of what you want to do with the information that you're being given here today. You may feel helpless, but you're not. And your life has meaning. It really does. And you can contribute to your own healing. Every step forward is a step in the right direction. Start connecting with like-minded people. Start connecting with people who are where you want to be. Connect with people who are constantly working on their personal and professional development. Continue to work on your own personal and professional development. Many of us at times need someone to talk to, someone to help us process our goals and achieve our desired level of success. We all carry around limiting belief patterns, thought patterns, and behaviors that we downloaded from our parents, society, our forefathers. Many of those behaviors were learned. And over time, we carry those hurts and those regrets and those fears. And we become bitter and angry and unforgiving. So it's time now. It's time to let go. Let love shine from your heart. For this day really is yours to choose. I want to close with this amazing story of forgiveness from a courageous woman named Corrie ten Boom. During the Holocaust, she kept Jewish people and members of the Dutch resistance in her home with her family. in order to help them escape from their ultimate death. Now you have to remember, she was hiding them in her home, and her family was caught. They were arrested and sent to a concentration camp. Corrie ten Boom is most noted for forgiving her abusers. After the Holocaust, she traveled and began speaking about forgiveness and teaching others how to overcome harsh circumstances. And at one particular speech, she remembers that saying, while performing in Germany, she saw her most cruel oppressor in the audience. And she talks about how she began to break out in a cold sweat as she saw him in the audience. And she began to shake, and she felt his eyes looking as if to look right through her. And she continued with her speech. But after the speech, he made his way to her. She goes on to say that she saw him in his overcoat, his brown hat, his uniform, and his cap with skull and crossbones. Now, here she is, there to speak about forgiveness. And here comes her most horrible abuser. Now, you can imagine what she had been through. And you can imagine the thoughts that are going through her mind as she sees this man approaching her. I highly recommend you read her autobiography. But she recounts the story of how there he was in front of her and looking right at him. It was the first time she had been face to face with one of her captors. And she goes on to say he was her most brutal captor. He reached out his hand to grab hers. And at that moment, she says that she knew she had to forgive him. And she shook his hand and she forgave him. Now, I'm not sure how easy it was for her. I'm sure there was a lot of emotion between both of them. But I just want to tell you there's power in forgiveness. And Corrie ten Boom states that she had learned that over the course of her teaching and writing and speaking to millions of people, those who were able to forgive their former enemies in the concentration camps were able to rebuild their lives, no matter how bad the physical scars. However, she goes on to say, those who harbored unforgiveness remained invalids. In other words, they remained sick, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. She said it was as simple and as horrible as that. So, I believe it is impossible for all of us to practice forgiveness. If you want to heal, you must learn to practice forgiveness. And why not start today? In closing, I would just like to say thank you so much for being with me here today. We've all been through so many challenges in the past couple of years that I just hope that hanging out with me here at the Road to Resilience with Theresa Marie will help you to learn how to anchor yourself in the bad times. Today, we've talked about the power of resilience and why it's important, the power of decision making and why it's important to make the right choices, and why it's important to live in the now and not get stuck in the past. I always like to tell people you can't put toothpaste back into the tube, so it's always time to move on. And I hope that you have found some value in our time today. please don't hesitate to reach out to me. You can find me on Instagram at teresamarie.coach. You can find me on my Facebook page at Create Your Own Story with Theresa Marie. I'm on Twitter, LinkedIn, as well as Clubhouse. It's safe to say that you can pretty much find me on any social media platform. And I hope that you will tune in next time. And if you would like to be a guest on this show, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Or if you know someone who would make a great addition to interview, please let me know. And if you have a podcast and you would like for me to come onto your show, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. And I wish you all peace, health, and prosperity. Again, this is Coach Theresa with you on the Road to Resilience podcast with Theresa Marie. Bye now.